It's been about a month since we did the last start bench cut video, and ever since I uploaded that, I've been getting a lot of comments and requests asking me to do another one, so that is exactly what we're going to be doing today. You guys know how this works. I posted on the community tab asking you guys to comment 3 players for a chance to be featured in the up-and-coming start bench cut video. There were a lot of comments, a lot of really good ones. Of course, I couldn't choose them all, but I did choose 10 to be featured in today's video, and if you aren't familiar with how this game works, basically it's a single game scenario, and of the 3 players you are given, you choose who you would start, who you would bench, and who you would cut. It's pretty simple. And as always, if you guys are new to the channel and you want to see more NHL content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. And with that being said, let's jump right into it. The first comment of the video comes from Silver Zero Breaks, who says Brady Tkachuk, Barrett Hayton, or Philip Zadina. So this one is kind of themed around the 2018 draft, where of course Brady Tkachuk went 3rd overall to the Sens, Barrett Hayton was taken 5th by Arizona, and Philip Zadina was taken 6th by the Red Wings. And in terms of who I'm going to start, this was an easy decision. Definitely got to go with Brady Tkachuk. He's already played 2 full years in the NHL, while Zadina and Hayton have both not played a full season yet. And in both of those seasons he's played, he has scored 20 or more goals. Definitely the right decision to start. On the bench, I think I'm going to go with Philip Zadina, just because he has played more games than Barrett Hayton, and Zadina actually played pretty well for a Detroit Red Wings team that was just terrible. So of course that leaves me cutting Barrett Hayton. Not sure who's going to turn out to be the better player, we're going to have to wait and see, but for this start bench and cut, I think that's the order I'm going to go with. Moving along now to the next comment from No Cap Bills, who says Anderson, Hellebuck, and Ben Bishop. This is a really good one, all 3 fantastic goaltenders. In terms of who I'm going to start, you guys probably know if you're a fan of the channel, I'm going to go with Connor Hellebuck. I've said multiple times that I think he should be the Vezina Trophy winner this season, just because Winnipeg wouldn't have been anywhere near the playoffs without him. And you got to take into account that they didn't have a backup goaltender taking any of the pressure off of him this season like a Ben Bishop did, where Anton Khudobin is one of the best backups in the league. Now moving on to who I'm going to bench, I'm definitely going to go with Ben Bishop on that one. I would say he's probably going to be a finalist for the Vezina Trophy along with somebody like a Connor Hellebuck, and of course that then leaves me cutting Frederik Andersen. He's a fantastic goaltender when on top of his game, but I feel at times Freddie Andersen can be a little bit inconsistent. Nonetheless though, when playing at their best, these are some of the better goaltenders in the NHL, so for this one I'm definitely going to go with the order of starting Hellebuck, benching Bishop, and cutting Freddie Andersen. Next up we have a comment from Derek Lasker, who says underrated young forwards Anthony Cirelli, Philippe Deneau, and Jacob Verona. Not star players by any means, but all extremely important to their team, and like Derek said, pretty underrated. For this one, I actually had a pretty tough time deciding who I'm going to start, but in the end, I decided to go with Philippe Deneau of the Montreal Canadiens. I feel like over the past couple of seasons, he has been one of the more underrated two-way centermen in the league. He's definitely been fantastic for Montreal, and I feel like he doesn't really get a lot of credit. In terms of who I'm going to bench, I decided to go with Anthony Cirelli over Jacob Verona. I know Verona is definitely probably the better goal scorer, but Anthony Cirelli's a Swiss Army knife. He can really do it all. He can kill penalties, he can play in the power play, he can play 3rd or 4th line, or even play on the 1st line. I'm a huge Cirelli fan, and I think it's only a matter of time before he breaks out and really becomes a star for the Lightning. So yeah, I'm going to go with him on the bench, and then of course that leaves me cutting Jacob Verona, who, don't get me wrong, is a fantastic player. I think he has the potential to be like a consistent 30 goal scorer, but right now I just prefer Deneau and Cirelli over him slightly. Next up we have a comment from Lil Tubby X, who says Martin Necas, Nick Suzuki, and Denis Gurianov. So this one is rookie themed. All 3 of them had a pretty strong rookie campaign in the NHL. This one is actually pretty tough, but I think I'm going to go with starting Nick Suzuki of the Montreal Canadiens. I think he had a fantastic season. I believe he had like over 40 points. I think he's one of the more underrated rookies from this season. In terms of who I'm going to bench, I think I'm going to give the slight edge to Martin Necas, so I'm going to go with him on the bench. He's a really solid player. I think he was like up there around the 40-point mark, so I'm going to go with him on the bench. And then, of course, that leaves me cutting Denis Gurianov of the Dallas Stars, but he's a great young player as well. I actually believe he led Dallas in goals this season with 20, being the only 20-goal scorer on the team. So his career has definitely gotten off to a good start. I mean, all 3 of these guys have. This one was a pretty tough one. You could go a lot of different ways with it, but this is the order I'm going to stick with. Moving along now, this comment comes from Joshua Steller, who says Thomas Chabot, Zach Werenski, and Aaron Ekblad. This is an extremely tough one. All 3 of them are great young defensemen. I feel like I might get ripped up a little bit for this pick, but I'm actually going to start Aaron Ekblad, former 1st overall pick by the Florida Panthers. Sure, maybe he didn't exactly live up to the hype of being a 1st overall pick, but he has turned out to be a fantastic defender for Florida. This season was definitely his best yet, in my opinion. I believe he had over 40 points in like under 70 games. His overall game has continued to get better, so I'm going to start him. I'm going to bench Thomas Chabot, which obviously leaves me cutting Zach Werenski, but between those two guys, it was extremely close. I gave Chabot the edge just because he's an absolute workhorse. The amount of minutes he played this season was just ridiculous. All three of these guys are great young defensemen, and remember, this is just a single game scenario, not who I'd want to start my franchise with, because if that was the case, then I would probably give the edge to Thomas Chabot. Continuing on here, we have a comment from Austin King, back to the rookie theme here, with John Marino, Adam Fox, and Ethan Bear, all three rookie defensemen. All three had really strong rookie years. The player I'm going to start definitely has to be Adam Fox of the New York Rangers. You guys know I've said it on the channel multiple times. He definitely got overshadowed this season by the other rookie defensemen in Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar. If it hadn't been for them, he definitely would have got talked about a lot more. On the bench, I think I'm going to go with John Marino of the Pittsburgh Penguins. He did not look like a rookie this season whatsoever. What a diamond in the rough find by the Penguins there. And then, of course, that leaves me cutting Ethan Bear, who, again, did have a strong rookie year, but I don't think he was quite on the level of a guy like John Marino or Adam Fox. I thought this next one was pretty funny, decided to throw it in the video. From DeBoss YT, Martin Jones, Jimmy Howard, or Michael Hutchinson. All three goalies that definitely had it pretty tough this season, but I think of the three, I definitely have to go with starting Martin Jones. I think when he's at his best, he's definitely better than the other two goalies here. I just don't really know what's been up with him over the past, 2 seasons. I think he can bounce back when the entire San Jose team does. On the bench, I'm going to go with Jimmy Howard. Now, I know he had a ridiculously awful record this season, but he was on Detroit, and I swear I watched every game this year. When he was in net, it feels like Detroit were playing like they had already lost the game. He was left out to dry so many times. I know obviously he's nowhere near the goaltender he once was, but I feel like he is still better than Michael Hutchinson, who I am obviously going to cut. If you put Howard in Hutchinson's spot to start the year, I feel like he would have did a lot better as Toronto's backup than Hutchinson did. That's just me, but again, I thought this was a pretty interesting one to throw in the video. Moving on now, this comment comes from Gabby Digi 1911. I'm hoping I'm saying that name right, but they say Tyson Barrie, John Klingberg, and Christopher Letang. In terms of who I'm going to start for this one, it was a pretty easy decision. I have to go with Christopher Letang of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Another great season for him. Despite being 33 years old, he still continues to play great. He was in the running for the Norris Trophy last season had he not gotten hurt. He's a beast and definitely who I'm going to start for this one. On the bench, I think I'm going to go with John Klingberg of the Dallas Stars. Didn't really have an amazing season, but we know what he's capable of. I think he can be like a 55-plus point defenseman every year and still be really solid in his own end. And of course, then that leaves me cutting Tyson Barrie, who's a great offensive defenseman, but I feel like he's not really as good as an overall defender as both Letang and Klingberg. So that's kind of why I decided to go with cutting him. Next up, we have another comment from Lil Tubby X. I apologize for having him in the video twice. I usually try to keep it one per person. Didn't really notice until I'm sitting here recording it now, but he says Mark Giordano, Shea Weber, and Seth Jones. This is a pretty interesting one. Obviously, you have a younger defenseman and then two very solid veterans. I think I'm going to go with starting Shea Weber. I'm still going to give him the slight edge over a player like Seth Jones. And again, this is just a single game scenario. I will, however, put Seth Jones on the bench. I've said multiple times before, I think he has the capability of being like a top 5 defender in the league, a Norris Trophy winning defenseman. And then, of course, that leaves me cutting the reigning Norris Trophy winner, Mark Giordano, which does sound kind of crazy, but he is now 36 years old, and last season was kind of an outlier for him. He did come back down to earth a little bit this year. All three great defenders, but that's the order I'm going to go with. Now for the final comment of the video from the Bless of Chess, 3 amazing Russians, Nikita Kucherov, Alexander Ovechkin, and Artemi Panarin. I had to sit here and think long and hard about this one. Of course, it is heavily based off of this season, so with that in mind, I'm going to go with starting Artemi Panarin of the New York Rangers. Realistically, 100% should be a finalist for the Hart Trophy. Nathan McKinnon said he would be his pick to win, which is, high praise from somebody who also should be in the conversation. So I'm going to start Panarin. On the bench, I'm going to give it to Alexander Ovechkin. Just the physicality, the emotion he brings to the table, and of course, the ability to still score at such a ridiculous level at his age. And then, of course, that leaves me cutting Nikita Kucherov, which sounds insane to say, but all 3 of these guys are amazing players. This was extremely difficult. The questions like this are what makes these start bench cut videos so fun. So for this one in particular, let me know down in the comments section below what you would go with. But that is going to do it for this edition of Start Bench Cut. If you guys want to see more videos like this, be sure to go down there and smash that like button. And of course, make sure to let me know your thoughts on all the ones we talked about in this video down in the comments section below. And with all that being said, if you guys did enjoy, please make sure to drop a like on it. That's the best way to show your support. And if you are new to the channel and you want to see more NHL content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And I will see you all in the the next video.